It's a skills section and a mindset shift. This is not theory, this is practical. And the man we have invited to guide us through is someone I've had the privilege of learning from firsthand. Let me share a brief overview of who Mr. Felix Ogbuji is. I met Felix Ogbuji during the Google Ozul Academy in October 2023. I can tell you that training changed the game for many of us. Felix doesn't just speak fluff, he delivers framework that work. He's trained over 15,000 entrepreneurs and professionals across Africa. He's a Google certified business and AI expert. And today, he's in this room for you. This isn't just for entrepreneurs. It is for anyone who will ever have to sell an idea, product, or even themselves. So here is my charge to you today. Please drop every distraction and be fully present. Take note and treat this section like your next investor is watching. Engage with purpose, because what you learn today could open doors tomorrow. Special thanks to our guest speaker, our moderators, the entire organizing team, and everyone joining us today. Let's begin. Moderators, over to you. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's session. We're happy to have you in attendance. My name is Chinelo. I'm in year 1, stream 2, and today's MBA Seminar Series is focused on Pitch Perfect. Thank you, our Vice President, Engineer Peter, for that very, very powerful introduction. So I'll be handing over to my co-host Femi, who would continue on the conversation and introduction of who Felix is and all the great value that he'll be bringing to this conversation. The purpose of this seminar, as we're all aware, is to bring together top industry experts who will be able to equip us as our business owners who also want to buy into owning our own businesses, and equip us with knowledge on how to pitch our business ideas to investors and also position ourselves for other global opportunities. So please stay on the call, learn as much as you can learn, like the Vice President has said. I'm handing over now to my co-host Femi to continue on the introduction of the speaker as we get into today's conversation. Thank you. Femi. Femi, can you hear us?
Please, can you confirm he can unmute? I think the setting was done not to mute naturally. He will need.
No, he can unmute. He can.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so while we get Femi back on the call, I'll just be sharing my slide about just a brief introduction as to who our guest speaker for today is. Black, I don't know if you can, Dikbo, I don't know if you can continue sharing. All right, because we have it on the screen now. Thank you. So Felix, as we are all aware and has been introduced by Peter, is a versatile business AI and cybersecurity expert with nearly a decade of experience in training, mentoring, and consulting globally. And he's trained over 10,000, 15,000 business owners and job seekers in areas such as digitalization, program management, social media strategy, and entrepreneurship. Felix is a Google champion, which is impressive, and is a certified digitalization consultant. He has played a key role in Google Digital Skills for Africa project. And he currently leads AI policy training for governments. Please stay, yes. And Felix focuses on business growth and the future of work and empowering individuals with the skills to thrive in a fast-changing digital economy. We are glad to have you here, Felix. And I don't know if you can unmute yourself now if you're ready to get into the conversation and then go on with the call.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I will say I'm born ready.
Very good.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Who is excited about today? I don't know how many persons are as excited as I am, but I'm super, super excited to meet every one of you. And this is because every single time I have to have a section going on in the past close to a decade now. I usually walk into rooms where I have, whether physical or virtual, I walk into rooms where I have amazing, amazing people. People like Peter in 2023, just like he mentioned. I wouldn't know that someone as big as Peter would be in that room, and I only had the opportunity to lead a session. So first, as a caveat, I am no better than anybody on the call. I have to say this. And Peter would know this. I usually don't believe in trainings as it is. I mean, classroom, the conventional classroom where everybody's lumped into one room and then we discuss things, chronologically and all that. It's never my thing. And I think I have to say this. Um, I was never a believer in the conventional classroom generally. So basically, I don't know if you know this group of people that used to sit behind the class. And then when the teacher is, guiding everybody and we're doing the two times one, two thing, there's this echo that usually comes from the back with these baritone voices. Yeah, so those were my crew. Like that's the kind of places I love to be. And funny enough, I will still turn out at the end of the term and still come tops of the class, like first position. And this was particularly because I was born to a teacher, right? So my entire life at home during the holidays is read, learn, get new things. So by the time I come back to school, it's boring because it's a repetition. The class, like I read ahead. I'm in primary two, I'm already covered primary three work during the holidays. So I'm just coming back to school to repeat the same thing. So it becomes boring for me. And I just join the band at the back and just give the echo. Now, the lesson here is that most people who don't understand what I had to do over the holidays will still join me to do the echoing thing. And then by the time it's exam period, I'll ace it. And then they'll find themselves lagging. But anyway, that's a different life lesson. But what am I trying to draw with this? What I discovered was that there was a challenge that we were having then. Every one of us, by the conventional education system, was being lumped together to learn the same thing, the same way, the same time. Now, the challenge here is the fact that someone like me is very visual. Okay. Now, I'm very, very visual and intensively visual to the point that if you give me a 2 hours, um, let's say video, a 2 hours video, and you allow me to see the first 10 minutes of that video, and then get to the middle and see another 10 minutes, and then at the end, you give me another 10 minutes, I can literally piece these things together and tell you the entire story of that movie. I am that visual, right? Now, that's how I learn. There are people who learn by reading, and there are others who learn by just simply, writing. If they copy the note by themselves, they learn in the process. Others learn by teaching others. That's why you see in the university, you have people who take it upon themselves to do tutorials, and you keep wondering, when do they get time to read? And what they're simply doing is learning when they're doing tutorial. I have a friend who graduated with a strong 2-1. In fact, it was just a fraction that separated him from a first class and the 2-1. Now, how does he learn? He takes his note after every week. He takes the note for the week. He reads it and record it on his phone. So when he's coming to school, he puts it on his ear. That was the time when there was this particular phone that came out, Express Music or something. So he puts it on his ears with his earpiece, and he will be listening to it while coming to school. He listens to it while he's returning. So every one of us used to accuse him, hey, you every time you're listening to music, every time. But what we didn't know is that he was listening to his notes. So by the time he gets to exam period, he's already ready. Now, so what I decided to do was, because I understood this challenge and I had this problem. Because throughout my exam period, throughout my school, I struggled. In fact, my intro tech teacher in secondary school actually made a bet at the beginning of the term and said anybody that does not copy his note is going to get 0 for the test. So he made his test 20 marks for the test, 20 for the note, and then 60 marks for exam. I still did not copy notes till the end of the term. So when he asked us to submit note, I didn't submit. So when the test came, I had 20 over 20. When the exam came, I had 60 over 60. So I had 80 over 100. I failed the 20 marks that came from the note. And this man had to call me to, the staff room and ask me, where are you from? I said, Rivers. He called the other teachers and said, see the boy that is bringing Rivers Juju to come and write my exam and pass. So why am I driving at? I choose to become a teacher. And I love what I do, by the way. I love it because not only does it allow me to express, not only does it allow me to change things that didn't work with me and for me, it also rewards me abundantly. So I love what I'm doing. I'm actually in my safe space. Ordinarily, I am not feeling too good, if you could hear it a little bit from my voice. But I choose to be here because this is what I do every single day of my life. And I want to continue to do this. Anyway, thankfully, World Economic Forum says this job is going to stay a little longer than the rest of the jobs. So I feel a little safer now, even though AI is beginning to bring a lot of mix to this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can be on the same page. Now, why did I tell this story? I wanted to set a background and at the same time ask for your permission. So I'm going to ask for your permission to do me a little favor. Now, what is the favor I'm asking for? I do not like classes, and I believe that there are a lot of us on this call that learns differently. So I want to ask for your permission to turn this to a family meeting, not a class. Now, so if you agree with a family meeting, you're going to type A in the chat. If you want this to be a normal class where Felix come, walk you through pitch perfect, selling your business, and then we'll walk away, you can type C in the chat. So the more A's I see, I'm going to assume that this is going to be a family meeting. And now, what do I mean by family meeting? We're going to have a conversation. We are going to, there's a pause for questions at the end, but I am also open to you sharing your questions in the chat, so that we can have a conversation. And sometimes these things are not out of the blues. I might be sharing something that resonates with you or something you know already. You're welcome to also share, elaborate on it or share in the chat so every one of us can learn together. Right. So if I have family, oh, great. I think I have it. Okay. So this is a family meeting then. So by the power vested on me as the trainer of today, by all of you, I now hereby declare this session a family meeting. And thank you so much, everyone, for agreeing with the family meeting. So I think this is my safe space now. All right, so thank you so much, everyone. So let's dive into the family meeting. First, let me thank the organizers, and particularly Mr. Peter. I don't know how you did it, but I can tell you for free. I think if I had a chance, I'll recommend you for maybe a diplomatic position. The VP of the VP of MBA is not doing you really good. You need to go for a diplomatic space because you had a way of literally gouging me the entire process to get me in here. And the way you check up on things, top notch. I doff my cap for you. All right, to everyone else, unfortunately, time will fail me to recognize everyone individually. But I want to say a big thank you to all the supporters and every single one of you that walked into this room. So I am going to believe that this section is going to actually walk us through a few things that you may be aware of, but this time around, we'll probably just give it a little bit of light, just to, guide us. So the topic I was handed over to go and work on is something that I do literally every 2 weeks. Okay. I'm even going to be teaching it next week again on the Google Hustle Academy. So it's something that I do almost every 2 weeks for the past almost close to a decade now. So we're going to be talking about how to sell your business idea to investors. But I have a bit of a concern with this. I feel like I'm being constrained to talk to you or trying to force pitching to just investors. Now, the caveat here is that pitching is not just to investors, okay? Pitching is not just to investors. You could pitch to anyone. So every time somebody asks you, hey, what do you do? Or what's maybe a business or something? Or what are you currently doing? Oh, I'm an MBA student of Lagos State University or a University of Lagos. And once you're doing that and telling the person and you're getting the person to understand who you are and what you do, you are literally pitching. But for the context of what we are doing here today, I'm going to constrain myself to pitching your ideas to investors. So please forgive me if I narrow down too much. My name is Felix Ogbuji, as you already know. I'm a business and AI lead trainer with Google Hustle Academy. And of course, I'm also one of the first set of certified digitalization consultants in Africa. And also, the one out of nine only across the entire world, Google champions in the world as of today. All right, so Google hasn't done that again since 2019. I don't know why, but we hope that that changes because we are hoping that people will come into the business and do us more. Okay, so let's dive into the session today. So we're going to actually constrain ourselves to just 6 steps. So we'll look at what pitching is and why it should matter to you as an individual or to your business. We'll look at some of the elements that can actually constitute a compelling pitch, that can add things you need to put in there that can attract your investors in this instance or anybody that you are pitching to be able to say, hey, I have the interest and I think I want to do this alongside this person. Now, we'll also look at a few case studies that people who have done it well. In fact, I have a lot of case studies. If you come to Google Hustle Academy, we'll walk you through the good ones and what I call the not good ones. All right. So, but for today, we're going to just look at the two successful ones amongst many others. That is Uber and Airbnb. The reason being that as at the time they were pitching, what they were pitching was sounding novel to the point that people ordinarily wouldn't even want to buy into the idea. But how they pitched it is the reason why people still, invested, and today they have been successful. Now, so we'll also look at some key things, key slides that you should include in your pitch deck that investors want to see. So the moment investors see that, okay, I want to even have a word with this person. I want to be able to talk to this person. And let me also put this out here. I have sat on both sides of the table, right? I have pitched severally to get whether investments or maybe get a partner or something. And at the same time, in fact, I pitched for a validation. There was one crazy move I had to make some time ago. I even had to pitch for validation. Now, beyond that too, I've also sat on this other side of the table, listening to pitch, people pitching for a lot of things, including investments and all of that. And I'm still trying my hands a little bit on small investments. Okay. So then we'll look at how to build your own pitch deck. We'll look at what you need to do on the immediate. I want this session to be hands-on. So if you have your writing materials, you can note down a few things, but please, let's apply the 20-80 rule. So 80% focus on the session, 20% noting down things that you can actually work on. And then I'll walk you through some final tips on how you can pitch with confidence. Because one thing is to actually create pitches. Another thing is actually to pitch it with confidence. I was a finalist housemate with the Next Titan Nigeria, if you're familiar with the Next Titan Nigeria season 8. And then I pitched my way all the way from the ground. In fact, that was my first shot. I had less than a week knowledge of what Next Titan was as at the time I entered in the competition. And I made it to the house as a finalist housemate. Yeah, for 10 weeks. And the entire process was a validation for me. I didn't even go for the money. I went for the validation. And so I have been there, and I've also been on the auditions of the Next Titan, watching people do the same thing. And I'm like, oh my God. You see people with bright ideas. It's not enough to have all those fantastic ideas. The confidence you bring to the pitching and how you pitch it and how you express and embody what you're doing plays a significant role to how you are going to be perceived, or even if anybody is going to hand you their hard-earned money in particular. Now, investors are not Father Christmas. These are people. In fact, let me tell you how I tell my class. I say investors have only one thing they want, only one business. And what is their business? They want to get their money into your business and get it out as quickly as they can. So their whole idea is put money into you, get it out as quickly as they can. That's the only rule, the only game of investment. I put my money in, get it out as quickly as I can with a lot of interest. So they are not your friends, basically. Yeah, you may find some of them to become friends much later if the business goes as it should. All right. So that said, let's dive into the session fully. Now, what is a pitch deck? And I'm going to try to put it in 6 specific ways. So the first is the fact that your pitch deck has to be a concise visual representation of your entire idea. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever tried to explain your business to people, and it's almost difficult to do so. How many of us? You try to explain, and people don't seem to understand, especially family and friends. The doubting Thomas. If this is you, please let's meet in the chat. Just type me in the chat if this has happened to you. Now you're trying to pitch to people to tell them what your business is, especially your business idea, and they find it very difficult to understand. Now some of you may be lucky. I wasn't that lucky. I chose to join film industry at a time when film was not a thing. And that was like almost 23 years ago. And my family was against it. They wanted me to be a medical doctor. And then, the fact I wanted to be an engineer. So the whole quarrel between you are so bright, you need to be a medical doctor. We need a medical doctor in this family. I wanted to be an engineer. And we started fighting. And then the next thing, I just drifted all the way from that conversation and joined film industry. It took one day, my elder brother had to call me and sit and say, hey, You have chosen to be useless. No problem. What do you need to continue being useless? These were his words. What do you need to continue being useless? I'm like, what? He said, how much do you need to register for the film industry so that you can continue being useless? As at the time, it was it 5,000? How much? I said 5,000. He said 5,000. I said, yes. He counted 10,000 and gave to me. And he said to me, I don't know what you see in what you're going in for, but if you succeed, remember that I gave you money and we supported you. If you fail, remember that we tried to stop you and you refused. So we give you and we remove our hands. And he gave me 10,000 naira that very day. I've never felt pressured in my life. Now, I didn't know how to explain to them what I was trying to do. I didn't know how to explain it. It was difficult for them to see. But for out there, some people are finding me, hey, I saw you in that film. You did Waka Pass. You did this. And my family is not seeing what I'm seeing. I was seeing myself as a movie star, all the big names and all that. And until the time when I think there was a job I did alongside a few top artists that my family called me and said, hey, we didn't even know that you even have contact to these people. Now, you might be struggling to do this. Now, this is the same thing that is going to happen to your investors. They have listened to a lot of pitches and all that. So your pitch deck is the way of you concising the entire story in a visual representation and being able to give it to them in a way that they will be able to resonate with. Now, the goal of your pitch should be first, not to get them to pay, to give you the investment. It is to get their interest and possibly get them to ask you follow-up questions or even get a meeting with you where the fine lines of your agreement or anything has to happen. So your goal of your pitch is to spark the interest in them, all right, to be able to get you a meeting. Then most times I've seen a lot of pitch decks. Some people will say, oh, my ideas are so much. And I remember it's a concise presentation. So some people, I've seen a pitch deck of 55 pages. And I'm like, really? 55 pages? What? Who has the time to listen to pitch deck of 55 pages? When you have barely, for the preliminary stage of the next Titan, you have barely 2 minutes. 2 minutes. That's what you have tops. If you're speaking with in elevator pitch, what we call the elevator pitch, if you're speaking with an interest, maybe you made Dangote or any of the big names or any of the investors, and then you have to speak to them. But the time it takes the elevator to move from first floor to second floor is all you have. And that's less than a minute. And then you have 55 pages. No, the length should, if possible, if it is possible, keep it under 10 pages or max between 10 and 15 slides. Nothing more, nothing less. Except that you've already gotten to the point where you've piqued their interest and they are the one asking you for a detailed pitch. Now you have the luxury to put in anything you want to. Now, the settings, the official or conventional settings will be maybe meetings, competitions, or even virtual pitches, which I have sat through severally. I remember I had to sit on a board for some pitches all across Europe. And I'm like, see how these guys, the early times, excuse me, early times post-COVID. And then we had to, sit and listen to all the fantastic pitches coming from Europe. Unfortunately, I was the only black person there. But anyway, do I say unfortunately? No, fortunately, because it can't be unfortunate. I was the only black person on that board. Now, so taking the story down. Now, pitches can happen anywhere. I recall that in one of the sessions we had during the Next Titan Nigeria, we were just having a house party, and then some guy was watching the entire thing. So I think he saw me pitched in one of the boardrooms, and then he came to me and said, "How much will it cost to invest in your business?" I'm like, "Really, sir? We are having like literally party. This is clubbing. We are literally clubbing, and then you're asking this question." He said, "No, I'm serious." And we're dancing. He had his drink, I had mine, and we're gisting, and then he was serious. So pitches could happen. In fact, there was a particular story I heard of a guy who works in an organization. So they had the company had their end of year party. We're having an end of year party in December. And so he was gisting with his friend just beside him and was telling him of this fantastic idea that he had, that if, in fact, if he has his way, he's going to, get money and fund the ideas and all that. Little did he know that the owner of the company, the MD of the company, was just behind them and was eavesdropping on that conversation. Now, the party was done. The next day, they all returned to office, and then the MD requested to see him. He came in, and the MD said, "Hey, I'm sorry that I eavesdropped, but I listened to you talking about XY idea. I want you to go and refine the idea, come back to me in a month let's discuss it and see how we can. And he was shocked. He thought he was going to get fired. After about a month, he didn't show up. Second month, he didn't show up. By third month, the MD called him again and said, what is your stand on what we discussed? What about you bring this conversation so that we can fund it? I am willing to fund it, okay? I'm willing to let you go, start a business. I'm interested and I want to fund it, right? Now, so this is an unconventional environment from a party to the office. So delivery settings could be in meetings, competitions, and all that, but prepare for it. It could happen anywhere, okay? And then target audience. Now, for this particular session, for the context of this section, we're constraining this entire thing to investors. But again, I must also say, even though we are targeting investors, there are different kinds of investors, right? We have the angel investors, we have the venture capitals, and the list goes on. Now, I'm not going to bore you with all of that, but every time you want to target a pitch, now the pitch deck for an angel investor should be very, very different and adapted to them as against a pitch deck to a venture capital. So you need to understand this before you create your pitch deck. And then the content focus should be on how to succinctly convey your business idea to pique the interest of the people you are talking to. Whether it's an angel investor, whether it's a venture capital, whether it's an equity banker, whoever is going to fund your business, you need to be able to attract their interest. This is the focus of what you are going to try to do with your pitch deck. Okay? All right. So the next thing you need to do with this is to understand, why does my pitch deck even matter? Because already Mr. Felix is talking and this thing is beginning to sound like it's a lot of work. Yes, pitch deck is a lot of work, but this is the good thing. The moment you get the basis done, every other one, because every time I had to speak to an investor, I have to, refine my pitch to suit that particular investor. But once the basics is done, it's easier to adapt it to the next person or the next organization. But before you put in all of this work, before you invest all this time, you should understand why it should matter to you. First, the thing is that your pitch deck, and why you should put all of this work, is that your pitch deck makes the first impression on your investor. Now, once you get that first impression right, every other thing will fall in place. Okay, I recall that I had to speak to someone. There was an organization I needed to speak to, and true life story. And I was pitching. My organization then was just a small business and all that. Nobody has heard anything about us. So I was speaking to them over the phone. The guy that contacted me, I was speaking to them over the phone, and they were like, no, no. So the tone of the voice was flat. They didn't want, they haven't heard about my company. Maybe they have gone online, search, and they didn't see much, And the question was, what did you say the name of your company is again? I kept saying it. And they said, okay, can you send us a pitch? Now, when I sent the pitch to them, thankfully, we did a good job with the pitch. This was a job of over 30 million. And then they didn't believe that some obscure company can handle a job of over 30 million. And there's no online presence, nothing and all that. So we sent the pitch to them. In fact, we even added a video pitch of something we did some time ago. And that impression alone was what made them invite us. So they invited us, and 4 of us showed up, young people, so young, and they were like, even in the meeting, we could hear them whisper, these young people, and this, wait, are you, so one of them couldn't hold it. He was like, wait, are you the guys who had that pitch, like the videos and everything? We said, yes, we are. They kept looking at themselves. And where did you say you've handled this thing again? We told them, and then they said, okay, could we come and see your facility? We said, why not? So they came to our facility now and saw what we had there, and they were like, wow, and nobody knows about you guys. How come you guys are not popular and all that? We said, unfortunately, we don't have the budget to actually, push for that popularity. Hopefully, when we get your job, we're going to do that. We all laughed over it and that. And that's how we got that job. Now, why is that? Because the impression we gave with our pitch was what spoke for us in the room. So that's the first thing that attracts them. So how good your pitch is will attract the investor to even want to listen to you. And then the next thing is that it helps to communicate your vision clearly and persuasively. Now, if you do your pitch deck well, it will have a natural progression from the beginning, from the time you introduce your company, yourself, up until the time you actually make your ask. And that natural progression can actually keep people glued to you. A trick I used some time ago, I started with a story. I'm going to also be talking about this a little bit. Oh, okay. Let me just hold on that. When we get there, I'll progressively talk about that. Now, another thing that actually your pitch deck does for you is that it sets you apart in a crowded startup ecosystem. Everybody, since post-COVID, everybody is starting a business. Everybody and their dog is starting a business, so to speak. In fact, there are more apps. After this section, I have another speaking engagement, physical speaking engagement. I'm rushing off immediately after this section. Now, what did they ask me to come and talk? Come and talk to everybody, like the youngsters, that this thing is not as it looks like. Everybody wants to build an app. Everybody wants to start a solution. Everybody. Now, so how do you now, because whatever you think you're doing uniquely, somebody's already doing something, right? And then, of course, it's outside the scope of our conversation. But for those of you who probably join the Google Hustle Academy, you probably have that conversation. We have a session dedicated to talking about competition. Right. So the types of competition, direct, indirect, future competition, and the rest of them. Now, whatever you think you're doing, somebody's already doing it. And whatever you think you're doing alone, somebody is preparing to do it the moment you launch. So how do you now stay different? How do you now, stay apart? How do they select you out of the crowd? Especially if you're pitching for grants. There's a lot of people who are already, pitching for grants and all that. So how do you now pitch for grants and be able to gain the grant, especially when there are thousands of people? Before we joined the Google Hustle Academy, the Next Titan, I had to pitch against over 10,000 people. 10,000 bright minds. Like, if you walk into the room, these are Nigerians who think, both from diaspora, because we have people from the UK, Nigerians from the UK, US, who came back to pitch for this. And I'm like, really? So how do you stand out? This is where your pitch deck comes in. Your pitch deck can stand you out to the point that they'll say, okay, I think we should listen to this person first before any other person. And then allows your investors to quickly assess your business. Now, sometimes your investors might require you to send in your pitch deck first. It happened to us. My team on one of the episode of the Next Titan, we have sent in our presentation, our pitch deck. We sent it in before the boardroom. And so we arrived at the boardroom, beautiful pitch. They commended us, Booker Carey, all the judges, and they commended us. And we're like, man, this is good. I know that we did our pitch and everything. And then one of the judges asked a simple question, and then we answered, and he said, I didn't see that in your pitch deck. That was it for us. That was why we lost that particular boardroom. Why? Because we didn't contain that information that could have made our investors to see us, our business potential. So because of that singular mistake that we made with the pitch deck, we lost that particular section. And it was very disastrous for the rest of us. Now, so what am I saying? You need to make sure that you are able to create your pitch deck in such a way that it shows your business potential to your investors quickly, so that before they actually move their attention to the next pitch deck, they already grasp what they need to get from you. So this is why it matters for you to have a pitch deck. Now, what are the things that you should put in your pitch deck? First and foremost, you're going to look at the problem you're solving. What is the problem you're solving? How big is this problem? Now, first and foremost, you need to craft your problem statement. Let's say, for instance, I realized, okay, yesterday I'm currently running a project where I'm training 200 young students from primary and junior and primary, junior, and senior secondary schools in my locality. I gave them scholarships, about 200 of them, and they're currently learning robotics, artificial intelligence, games and stuff like that, app development, and the rest of them. So I went to see them yesterday. While I was coming, a parent was with me in the vehicle. So I was driving home, and then the parent started engaging me. He brought his son and was thanking me. And so he was engaging me. And then he raised the concern around WAEC. He said, this WAEC that they are talking about that will start online, how do I think this thing is going to pan out? Are they going to be able to accommodate this? I said, oh, first, sir, hold on. I am not a teacher in that school. As of now, I'm not. He was like, oh, really? I said, yeah, I only just gave them scholarship. And I'm paying for it. I just want them to do that so that we get them started. So, okay, that he was. Now, what I picked from there is that he has a pain point. They don't know how to prepare their children for the online. The only thing I told them, I said, say, if JAM could do it and they are writing JAM, it's still the same people that is going to write JAM that are writing the WAEC. They'll find a way to use the same system. So the same way they're going to learn to use JAM to write it, that's the same way. But what if I decide to take that as an initiative and create something that works both parents and teachers? Parents, teachers, and students through the process of getting to write WAEC online. That is a big problem in Nigeria, a huge problem. For some of us who are parents who have children in that distance, you will agree with me that this is already a big problem. Now, if I have that problem and I can craft that problem, the next thing is to look at what is the solution to that problem. So the first thing is that you're going to craft your pitch deck to be able in 1 to 3 sentence, put up the problem that you're trying to solve at the beginning. And then, as a writer, put in the solution to it. So it may start like a question. What if I can find a solution to all the problems of getting teachers, students, and the parents to understand the WAEC moving online? And then you now put in your solution. You have gotten my attention as an investor, because now I know there is a problem, because I have had this first-hand conversation. Now I know there's a problem. I'm now ready to listen to you to understand what the solution is. Now, this is how you craft the problem and then move on to the solution. Then the next thing is, what is the market opportunity for this problem? How many children write WAEC in every year in Nigeria? How many children? You need to know this number, and this is where your market research steps in. And once you have this number, outlined, then you are about to get involved in the real thing. So the first thing is that, what is the market opportunity? How large is this market that you're trying to tap into? Right? So you need to understand how large the market is and put it out there, because as an investor, what I want to see is, if you're going to, because most of these investors, trust me, most of these investors have started their own businesses, and some of the businesses they started failed. So they understand what failed their businesses. They currently have some businesses that have succeeded, so they know what makes the business to succeed. I used to tell people that one of the things that I think, when somebody asks me what qualifies you to even teach business, it is not the academics that I have or the paperwork and all. I think it's the fact that I've started a couple of businesses that failed, and I say it with pride. I've started a couple of businesses that failed, and I understand what failed them. And I've started a couple that succeeded. Now, leveraging the knowledge that I gained and the insight that I gained from the ones that failed, now these ones are succeeding. So I understand this. And even now that I'm trying my hands on angel investments, I'm trying my hands on angel investments. I'm just starting out. So I know that from the first beginning, the moment you start pitching, I know what is going to succeed and what is not. So I will tell you from the beginning, this is not going to work, or we have to refine. Now, as angel investor, we can sit down and refine if you're open to doing so. And maybe when I get to venture capital, I may no longer be so much interested in refining anything, but as of today. So these guys may have the understanding of your market, because they also do their own research. It's their hard-earned money they are putting in there. So you need to do your research to understand how large is this market. And they know the scalability, the metrics, the mathematics around numbers. All right. So they're going to look at, okay, if we amplify this, if you scale on this level, how much are we going to make out of it? And we'll look at some examples with Uber and Airbnb. Then you now talk about your products or your service. So it could be your product or your service. So if there is a product, you need to show what the product does. If it is something that they need to walk through a particular process, maybe a demo or something, to be able to say, okay, this is how the product works, you need to walk them through. If it is a service, it needs to show how it works. Now, for instance, Airbnb, for instance, very simple. I was looking at their deck. I was just reviewing Airbnb deck, and they had a very simple business model or service. So first, you say, okay, I am going to Lagos, for instance. All you need to do is go search for Lagos. And then the service will bring up all the hotels or accommodations within that region, and you review which of them you want, click on it, and it shows you details, and then the next thing you book. Simple. So that entire simple process makes it easier for people to use because people use things for convenience. For instance, I saw something that happened recently. And whether you like it or not, people buy more things today based on convenience. So if your product or your service isn't offering convenience, people walk away from it. Have you ever wondered why a lot of people? Okay, there was an incident that happened recently. I think I was citing it somewhere in one of my classes, where what happened there? So there was a POS guy that was sitting right in front of a bank on a Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, bank is open, ATM is there. And then someone came right there and withdrew, was it 200, a bit 300,000 there? Can't remember. Right from the POS guy. And I'm like, and the funny thing is that he used the ATM card of that particular bank where the POS person was seated. Now, what stopped him from walking into his bank, use the ATM there, or even get into the bank and withdraw the money, but decided to do the same from the POS person? Hello, convenience. And the funny thing is that he's losing money because the POS person was going to charge some money on that. So I'm like playing my head around this. I say, people are willing to lose that money just for the convenience, as against ever getting to do what? Go into the bank, wait on the queue, so many things. Oh, there's not much money and all that. So the convenience your product or your services offer matters. So you need to show how and demonstrate how your product or your services works. Then the next thing is your business model. This is where the investor is interested. How are you going to make money? What is going to bring money to you? And if you look at the Uber, the same Airbnb, I'll recommend you just search for it. I think it's online or something. I am not so sure. Now, the process is very simple. So they said, okay, we have XY amount of target markets. This is the average people pay per hotel. And this is the average people stay per stay. Now, if we are able to get people to pay X, Y, Z for this, then what is going to happen is that we will take SY amount, and then by the time we multiply it by our own targets accessible markets, this is how much we're going to make. For every investor, it was a simple maths. So as an investor, if I see that business model, it's a simple math for me. It's a plus thing. I don't have to do quadratic equation to get that. So once I see that, oh, is it doable? Is it attainable? Is it achievable? If yes, it's a yes for me. And I think that's one of the reasons why the earlier investors were able to invest. It was simple. Then the next thing is your go-to market strategy. You need to walk your investor through your go-to-market strategy. So if you're building your deck, this should be a natural progression from your problem to the solution you're providing, the market opportunity, the product or services you're describing, your business model, and then the strategy that you're going to use to get into the market. The strategy you're going to get in some product into Lagos market is definitely going to be different from how you're going to get that product into Port Harcourt market. As simple as Nigeria. Same is going to be true for those who are going to Lagos or Abuja, for instance. Now, let me put it this way. Has anybody here lived so long in Lagos and then you find yourself in Abuja and you think that Abuja is too slow? Anybody here? Type I, if that is you. Like, you've lived so long in Lagos, the first time you visited Abuja, you felt like Abuja was walking backwards. Like Abuja is too slow. I don't know how many of us has had that experience. Anybody? Or let's flip it. You live in Abuja and you went to Lagos and it feels like Lagos is running too fast for you, for your liking. Anybody here? Let me know in the chat if that is you. Now, that is the convention. Most people who live in Lagos feel that Abuja is too slow. Like everybody is just lay back in Abuja. Nobody's, everybody just lay back, Now, if you live in Abuja and you go to Lagos, it's like, where are they rushing to? What is this? Why is everybody waking up at 4 a.m.? Why is everybody waking up at 4 a.m.? So it sounds crazy. Yeah. And in Abuja, yes, I'll tell you this. I was in Lagos and I had a flight. I was in Lagos and I went to see my friend. Port Harcourt is Port Harcourt is the middle of Lagos and Abuja. Port Harcourt is right in the middle of Lagos and Abuja. So if you come from Lagos or Abuja, you will find Port Harcourt a little bit more accommodating than going the two extremes. Now, so I was in Toyin Street. I went to see a friend in Toyin Street. I just left my hotel and I was seeing a friend. So from Toyin Street to Ikeja Airport, and I have a flight for, what time was the flight again? I think my flight was for 2 p.m. And by 10 a.m., I was still relaxed in my hotel. And my friend came to see me. I was like, what time did you say your flight is? I said 2 p.m. He said, I know you've not left for Lagos. I said, I don't understand. Why should I be running to airport that is just here? And he's a typical education. He said, Oga, enter road. Enter road. I said, no, I can't. It's 2 p.m. I can leave by, I can leave by, let's say, I was targeting to leave by 12. He said there will be traffic. Now, we argued for almost 1 hour, and I eventually had to leave. In fact, he refused to leave my hotel room. I eventually had to agree to leave by 11 to go to, and I still got to the airport. I ended up staying at the VIP lounge. Like, Lagos feels like it's so far. In Abuja, that flight could be by 2 p.m. and I will leave my house in Maitama or Asokoro or Gariki by 1 and I'll meet up that flight. Conveniently, I'll leave by 1. Like, you see, Abuja people will just move at their own time and will still meet up the flight. We won't miss it. Now, so I've lived in Abuja all my life. Then I moved to Lagos 8 years ago, and right now I'm looking for opportunity to go back to Abuja. I tell you, I can imagine, Jethro, I can imagine. Now, this happened to me because there was a time I needed to, I was in a hotel around, I was new to Lagos then. I was in a hotel around Cement or something like that. And I needed to get on a flight to, was it South Africa or where I was going to then? So I needed to get on there. So I told the hotel guys, they know me very well. So like, okay, please wake me up early so that I can. They said, no, what time is your flight? I said, no, so I can leave by 6. I said, no. I eventually did, cut the bug and, try to. It was one Abuja guy that I met. He works at the airport. They transferred him to Lagos. And he told me that there's nothing he hates like living in Lagos, So, but the thing, the story here is the fact that whatever business you're doing in Lagos or Abuja, your go-to strategy is going to be different. So you don't say, because I have this that I'm doing in Lagos, I'm going to use the same strategy to launch back in Abuja, or I'm going to use the same strategy to launch in Port Harcourt. It's going to be different. So which means every time you want to do your pitch deck, depending on the audience or the investor. So if you're pitching to me and you're telling me you're going to do this business in Lagos, I, as an investor, I already know how fast-paced Lagos could be. So if you're not talking to me with your go-to strategy that aligns with Lagos, I'm not interested. So you need to be aware of this. And then the next thing is your traction or metrics, as the case may be. Now, this is where who you pitch to really, really matters. If you're pitching to an angel investor, for instance, you might be pitching using traction. Now, you don't pitch to a venture capital using traction. Angel investors will invest in new businesses and business ideas because they have the passion, they have, what it takes to keep holding on to that business and all of that. Okay. Now, but what would happen with venture capital is that they invest more in businesses that have, that are at growth stage. So because they invest in businesses that are at growth stage, they want to see what you have done. Now, if you're pitching to an angel investor, you can say, oh, okay, we created an app. We have allowed people to sign up for free for 3 months, and we've received 10,000 signups in 3 months. And those 10,000 signups, people are already showing interest. They're even asking us to release more features and all of that. And you could put up all of that as part of your traction. So I see that there are people interested in the product. I can decide to bank my money on that. But the same will not happen if I am actually talking to a venture capital. If I'm talking to a venture capital, I can't say, oh, 10,000 people have signed up. No, I need to show them that 10,000 people have paid for the product. So it's not just them signing up, they have paid for the product. So there are 10,000 people who have paid for the product and they are taking, I've seen the money or you've made. So, but if you give us money to increase the product or this or that, so the who you're going to talk to will matter. Whether you're going to use a traction or a matrix. So you're going to make sure that that is contained in there. Then the next thing you need to also work on is your competition. Now, you can't convince me as an investor that you don't have a competition. No, it's not possible. You cannot convince me as an investor that you do not have a competition. There has to be a competition. There must be a competition. right? So I must see that you have a competition that you are aware of. Because what happens is if you say that you don't have a competition, there's no business on earth that doesn't have a competition. Whether, of course, if you look at the categories of competitions, you have, what do you call it? Even future competitions, right? Or emerging competitions, or even disruptors. So you can't say there is no, so you must be able to envisage that there is going to be somebody who is going to probably start that. So if you tell me you don't have a competition, I'm no longer interested in having that conversation with you as an investor. So as you actually get into your deck, you need to talk about investments. Now, who are your competitions? Who are they, and how are they going to compete with you? So that gives me an idea that you understand your market, and then your team matters. I usually ask this question. I said, if I, Felix Ogbuji, as I am right now, I come to you after this training, oh, they have read my profile, I lose good, I work with Google Hustle Academy, I've been training businesses. If you type my name, Felix Ogbuji, on Google, you see a lot of things. So I have a bit of a reputation. But at the same time, I come to you and I tell you that I have a business I'm pitching to you, and I said, I'm going to give you, you start a business today with me, I can give you 30% return on investment in 3 months. All right. And by the time we have that conversation, I show you everything, the tractions and everything, and it looks good. But the only thing is that I tell you that the founder of MMM is part of my board of trustee. In all honesty, type a yes in the chat if you're going to invest with me, or type a no if you're not going to invest with me. Just let me know in the chat. If you're going to invest with me, okay, Princess never. Oh, great. No, but the business is going to give you 30% return on investment. You know me, you know everything, right? So what is the problem? What is the problem here? Is it me, the business, or you don't trust the business, or what exactly is the issue here? Now, let me know in the chat why you said no. For those of us who said no, I'm still thinking, trying to see if there's a yes. Not even a single yes. Okay, the MMM. Oh, okay. So the MMM guy. All right. I think the guy had a good way of, he showed Nigeria a lot of, wait though, I have a book that is titled MMM. Are you sure people will buy that book? I have a book that is titled MMM. That is in works. It should come out soon. How to become rich. So make, manage, make, manage, and multiply money. Anyway, I hope people buy it when it comes out and not say, oh no, no, it's MMM. I'm not buying it. All right, changing them. Okay. Now, what if let's flip it? No, from me. Okay. Now let's flip this thing now and say maybe I come to you and I tell you this time around you're going to invest, but people will judge the book. Exactly. Oh, it's catchy name and it will inspire. Oh, thank you so much. I'm going to continue with the name then. And so, what if I tell you that I'm investing in, I need you to invest in that business, and we're going to give you 5% return on investment in a year? 5% return on investment in a year. And I have Tony Elumelu, I have Tony Elumelu, or maybe Dangote, or any of these guys on my board of trustee. Now, the question is, will you invest? Yes or no? And I mentioned that I have Tony Elumelu on my board. I have Dangote on my board. And then I'm going to give you 5% return on investment in 1 full year. Oh, okay. I think I'm seeing yeses now. Now, the question is, why the yes? Why the change to yes? The other one is offering 30%. You said no. Now I'm offering 5%, and there's a yes in the chat. So why the yes? You let me know. Okay. So while we're talking about why you are now accepting the yes, for those of us who are saying yes, this is how important the people in your business is. The reputation. Exactly. So in your board, if you have somebody who has reputation that is already on your board, right? Put it on your team. Let them see it. That alone will speak for you. Okay, so don't hide it. Oh, don't. In fact, it should be in there. If you have anybody who has done something, another, describe it, put it in your this, because the same effect it has on you right now, just me saying it, is the same effect it's going to have on any investor who wants to buy. So they want to know who is involved in the business. How are they involved in the business? What percentage of the shares are they holding? Let me shock you. Does anybody here know Enviable Transport? Does anybody here know Enviable Transport? There's one this thing that is investment, this thing that is Enviable Transport. Anybody here? Now, Enviable Transport is an investment platform that a lot of people are investing in. Oh, thank you, Nene. Now, a lot of people are investing in Enviable Transport. But do you know the funny thing? I bet that most of you think that it's owned by Obi Kubana. No, it's not owned by Obi Kubana. It's owned by someone else. But the reason why people invested in that transportation was because Obi Kubana was used as the brand ambassador. So it was the name, the reputation of Obi Kubana that actually got people to invest that huge amount of money in that business. In fact, the launch and everything was done by Obi Kubana, but the business is owned by somebody nobody even knows his name. And so that is how effective the person on your team really, really matters. Then the financials. Of course, whatever we are discussing, if I'm not seeing the financials, I'm not interested. I want to see how my money is going. Like I mentioned, every investor wants to get their money into your business as quickly as they can and get it out as quickly as they can with profit. Now, if you're talking about the financials, I want to see how much of your own money you have invested into the business, because I want to know how important this business is to you. All right. So if the business is important to you, you would have invested your own money. That's why watch any of the Lions Den, Dragons Den, and the rest of them, right? You always hear them ask that question: how much of your own money have you invested into it? They want to know how much of your own money you've invested. And so if they know how much of your own money you've invested, they know that you are serious about it and they can invest their own money. So every business must start with you being, yeah, he wasn't, yes, exactly. Thank you, Ginato. Now, so they want to know that you are willing to invest your own money. And then the next thing is, I want to know how much of your money has gone in. I want to know how much year on year in the next 3 to 5 years, how much profit are we going to make? Right? Most of you have heard that most businesses die in their first 3 years. So I want to see what your financial projection is in the next 3 years. I want to see your financials. So these are the things that will make me feel, oh, okay, there's an XY% growth year on year or month on month that is going to actually invite me and convince me to want to invest. And then, of course, you must tell them what you want. No matter how beautiful your pitch is, if you do not ask for what you want, in this case, funding, you will just finish and they'll say, oh, thank you so much for coming. You may go, even though they know you came to ask for money. So you must end with an ask and then tell them what the money will be used for. So it's not enough to ask. You're going to also walk them through what you're going to be using the funding for. Right? Now, let's look at a few examples. So I'll start with the Airbnb that I mentioned. So one of the problems they were able to craft is that a lot of hotels that were available at their time was very expensive. And yes, even till today, most times when I travel to some countries, what I do is I give a day or two just to try to get to the locals and, visit the locals, see things for myself and all that. But most people don't have that luxury of time. Now, so it is usually very difficult. Even though I give a day or two to try to visit the locals and all that, I still hear stories like, oh, don't go. This place, they might rob you, especially if you're coming from all these five-star hotels and all the rest, right? So you are being constrained not to move around so much, not to do, stuff like that. So hotels are pricey and they distort you from local experiences, right? Imagine me, I went somewhere some time ago and I think a plate of food it wasn't even the price. A plate of food was about $31, right? Now, it wasn't even the price that was my problem. My problem was the fact that I had to eat what I don't even know what it is for $31, right? And I had to do it 3 times a day. It didn't sound good to me that I'm eating what I'm not even sure of. So I had to step out of the hotel, walk away against all no, don't walk through this side, don't go here. If they see you, this people are going to know. I walked out of the hotel. In fact, I was looking so simple to disguise, put my passport in my pocket and walked out of the hotel, moved away from there and started asking some locals where I can find some, good food, things that I could resonate with just to eat, right? Yeah, it was cheaper, but that also gave me the opportunity to meet some people there and ask questions about their place. Now, so what Airbnb was provided as a solution to this problem was to create an environment where you can actually live with the locals, right? So they created a platform that allows you to live with the locals. So you are having both the experience of the local and at the same time at a cheaper platform. And then, of course, what is their market? They looked at a $20 billion travel market. The market is huge. And they were not so, the $20 billion market, we are covering everything. They took only 10% of the market and said, we can cover 10% of the market. And that gave them, as at the time they were making that calculation, was $200 million. in 3 years, $200 million in 3 years. So what is their unique solution? They're creating a peer-to-peer. So it's a win-win for everybody. The person who has an extra room in their house gets to win. The person who is coming in to stay gets to, experience the locals, eat local food, have some people to continue with and have it cheaper. So it's a win. And then for the investor, it's a win because you're investing into something that is so huge that you can make your money from. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. And they were able to contain everything in less than 15 slides, and it was clean, engaging, and easy to flow. Their visuals, they use visuals to literally share the entire process. I mean, if you see that slide, it's beautiful, right? And then what was their key takeaways? They were able to tell their story with real world validation. So you are seeing the problem in a story, you're seeing the solution, you're seeing the market size, you're seeing how they are going to provide a solution, and they are able to flow with this with real world validation. The data is there and everything. That is how you create a good slide deck. The second thing is we're also going to be looking at Uber as well. So Uber, as at the time Uber launched in 2008, it was a novel idea. There was nobody doing the same thing at the time. And what was the problem? If you watch most of those movies set in San Francisco, New York, and the rest of them, you see people coming out to hail, cabs and all of that. And when you do that, you do it under the snow, harsh weathers, and all that. And sometimes most of the conversations end in deadlock, right? So you're discussing with this, and the price does not work, and then they drive away, or you just walk away. Or by the time, and then even some people even try to solve the problem by using a two-way communication, a radio station. So you call the company, and then the company reaches out through a radio to all their drivers, and then anybody can now decide, oh, I'm the closest person there. So sometimes three, four drivers shows up at the same time. Only one person gets to pick you. Or by the time the person that actually drives to get to you gets there, you have entered another vehicle and you have moved. At the end of the day, drivers were just driving aimlessly. Now, so it was inefficient and unreliable for the drivers. They're wasting fuel, they're wasting everything. Now, for the customers, you have to be under the harsh weather, whether you like it or not, just to hail a taxi. And at the same time, it was difficult for those who want to get into the business because you have to have a particular kind of car. It has to be a Ford Crown or in a particular kind of car to be able to get into the business. And there is monopoly. There are those who control everything. So what did Uber bring? They said, okay, instead of for the customer, you don't need to be on that harsh weather. You stay inside your house and you can hail the driver, right? And then you can see the driver's movement. So you only come out when the driver is there. So you know the particular driver you are going to be getting the ride from, and you can monitor it. For the driver, you don't have to drive aimlessly. The system connects to you because you are the closest and most proximate to the customer. So it connects you and brings you straight to the customer. So no other person has to drive to compete with you to get the customer. And then the pricing part is already negotiated on the app. So the driver sees it, the customer sees it. So it's easy. If it's not going to work, you end it before everybody moves an inch, right? And then for the industry, anybody can actually get into the industry. You don't have to have a Ford Crown. The normal car you have, maybe you lost your job and you have a car, you can get into the business. It created more jobs. Or you bought your car, you have some free days and you needed some extra money, you're working, but your free days, you can use your car to do that, right? So it created new avenue and new jobs, and then removed that monopoly. And it was a win-win for people who wants to drive and make extra money. It was a win-win for the customers because they have to, hail from their homes, and they only come out when the vehicle is ready. And they also get the experience of being chauffeured in executive cars, not only exclusively for the extremely rich. And at the same time, it's easier for the drivers because they are no longer driving aimlessly. And so the business model for the investor is the fact that they take commissions, and they were able to even give a best case scenario, realistic scenario, and even a worst case scenario. If you look at their deck, when they were talking about the worst case scenario, they even said that they could end up as a 10-car driving this in chauffeur for San Francisco. And even at that, they'll probably maintain about 100 customers, which is still even profitable. And then they now looked at how they can hit the first 10 major cities: San Francisco, New York, Texas, all of the big cities and all that, right? So as an investor, it's a win-win for you as well. And the market size was huge and scalable. Today, they were targeting about $1 billion a year. Now they are hitting almost 106 billion as of yesterday, I guess. Yeah. Now, so what was their key? This thing they were able to show traction and their go-to-market strategy. So, what was the key takeaway? They focus on solving a huge problem that has a pain for everybody involved. Now, so these are ways you can also look at how your problem, you can craft your own problem. Now, how do you build your own? First, start with clarity. Create a problem statement for that thing you want to solve, and then create a solution and start building from there. Use storytelling to make your slide have a logical flow from beginning where you introduce to the time you ask for what you want. Then keep it visual, less of text, more of visuals. You could use chat, you could use, just like I did with here. So there's a lot of things I could write on the slide, but I decided to, just use visuals, that's what you need to do. Be specific, use numbers and real data. Mind you, data no longer exists in silos as it was some years back. Thanks to artificial intelligence and all that today. So data no longer exists in silos. They actually exist everywhere now. I remember I was speaking somewhere, and while I was speaking to the judges, there was a group, about two persons who had a laptop and they were sitting on the side. So every time I said something and I mentioned numbers, the judges would look that way and those guys would not. It was much later I got to know that those guys were industry experts in my industry. So what were they doing? They were on their system checking the numbers I was mentioning. So every time I mentioned a number, they were looking at it and, oh yeah, he's correct or not. And I'm like, wow, people can go that much. In fact, there was even one they had to do a scratch card in front of me and checked it online to find out whether what I was saying was true or not. Now, so end strong, right? Always close with a compelling ask and a vision. Let them recap what this benefit will be to them, not just your customers, to them, not just you. Let them know this is the benefit they are going to get and this is how they are going to get it. Yes, okay. Fact checkers, they are always everywhere. In fact, I've interviewed somewhere and they told me they can't give me the job. I said, why? They said they just checked me online and then they realized that, in fact, I have lost more jobs because people feel that they cannot pay me. The last job I lost. I said, let me try my hands on one job recently. And I lost the job because I don't know how it happened, but I was privy to the document they used in making decision on me. And they said, in that document, they said, he's extremely qualified. He has everything it takes, but we don't think he will stay for long, checking the fact that his pay will be less than his. I'm like, are you the one to decide my pay? Excuse me. And this was about 1.2 million a month. And I was comfortable with taking the 1.2 million because I have other things I will be doing. So I was even the one that was like, they said, oh, this thing is less than 2 million, or is about 1.2 million a month. I said, yes, I will take it. And then they said, are you sure you will take it? I said, I will take it. They still made a decision. I said, no, they cannot hire me because they don't feel that I will stay long on the job, that I'll probably leave because the money is probably small and they can offer me something better and I'll leave. That was the decision. So, so whatever you're doing, make sure that you close with a compelling ask and the vision, right? So fact checkers will always be there to check, oh, how much is he earning before? I don't even know how they got to know what the industry was paying me long before that. And then they made their decision from there. Now, so what are the key things we need to do? So first, practice. Here are some of the tips I'll give you. You can practice the 10, 20, 30 rule. So make sure your slide is not more than 10. Your presentation is not more than 10 slides. And then don't do the 20 minutes should contain, like this is when you're already having conversation. But I would recommend starting strong in your first 2 minutes, right? And then keeping an extra 10 minutes. So do everything under 10 minutes, keep the rest 10 minutes for questions in case if that's going to happen. And then maintain the 30-point font so that you're not just in the face of your investors like that. Then focus on the story, not just the slide. Most times we take slide and we are reading the slide about. I've sat on this other side of this, and I've seen people come reading their slide, and if anything goes wrong with the slide, they are gone. Now, I can present a slide because nobody knows my business as much as I know my business. I will engage the investors with compelling story woven around my slide without even having to look at my slide. My slide will just be a guide to show them the data, the charts and stuff like that, while I am focusing on telling the story of my business the way I do. the business. Now, that gives you both confidence. It also makes you, if anything goes wrong with the slide of the presentation, you are still on point. And then thirdly, it makes the investor mentally feel that you are very ready for what you are here to do. Now, tailor your pitch to investors' interest. This is where your work starts. It's not enough for you to know your business. You need to know your investors. Are they angel investors? What will attract an angel investor will be different from what will attract a venture capital. And then what is the interest of the venture capital? What is the interest of the angel? Now, the thing is, if I'm a venture capitalist, I may be interested in investing in oil and gas. You don't bring telecom to me because as an investor, we have been taught as investors to invest in places where you have strength. So for instance, I'm a tech person. So my investment interest will be around tech. So if you bring things around automotive, transportation, real estate, yeah, I could do real estate, or oil and gas, I might not be interested because I don't know much about that industry and that may not pique my interest. So if you're going to pitch to me, you must pitch to me with interest around tech. So you need to know who these investors is or are and what could pique their interest and then pitch along that line. Now, that does not mean that investors don't cross invest. They do, but they had to do where they, in fact, they invest more where their strength lies. Now, be honest about risk and show how you are going to manage them. This singular thing can actually get you the trust of all investors. If you can tell them, oh, there's a risk involved in this, and this is how we intend to manage this risk. For instance, there was a time when there was a cash crunch a few years ago, before the elections, I think 2023, around February or thereabout. If somebody was talking to me about investments and you talked about how the government policy then was going to affect the businesses, and I know because we started hearing about this. It's just unfortunate that most businesses in Nigeria don't take government policies seriously. Government in Nigeria will keep telling you we are going to implement this XYZ. In fact, let me even shock you, and why most businesses don't even take this seriously. In December of in March of that same year, I think there was a judgment, a Supreme Court judgment or something. It was El-Rufai and others that took the federal government to court, and then there was a judgment that year that the cash listing should be what was it, set aside. That was the statement till December of 2023. Hello, December 2023. Now this is July 2025. The judgment gave it from March to December of 2023. Now, nobody has said anything about it. Nobody has done anything because everybody is okay and comfortable with it. But I'll tell you, as Nigerians and as a business, I will tell you with my full chest, go and prepare for alternative payment options. Don't rely on cash. Because someday, the Pharaoh that does not know Joseph might show up somewhere and decide that, oh, there was a judgment that was passed that took effect from December, and he has decided to implement it. And in Nigeria, it's so crazy in Nigeria that they can make a business decision that can affect the entire country based on one person they don't like. So that can happen, and then everywhere will just cease instantly. There's a judgment. Now, so as a business, government policies is a risk that you must understand how to manage. So if I tell you that, okay, as a business, oh, this is this, and we don't do cash because of this, and I cite these things, these investors know. And from there, they can say, oh, okay, this person is grounded, and then we can. So you need to take advantage of that. Now, understand this statement clearly, and it's going to help you. Your pitch deck is not just a document, because most of us treat it as just a document. It is your voice in the room when you are not there. Because sometimes they're going to ask you to send it in. So if your pitch deck cannot tell your story before you come, then they don't want to listen to you. So it does not have to be vague. It does not have to be empty, right? Even though you're going to talk through it, it should be able to demonstrate your business and create interest before they meet you. Just like ours did when we sent it to those guys, it was able to create interest before we came to them. Right? So your pitch deck should be designed in such a way that when it gets into that room, whether they say, oh, send it to us first, because they're going to receive from so many people, especially if it is going to be a grant that is free money. in quote, free money in quote. They're going to ask for so many pitch. So you send all the pitches. Yours should be able to speak for you so that if they need to discard others to streamline, your own will not be discarded. All right. So that said, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to pause here and ask if there is any question. But first, my charge to you is I need you to put pen to paper and start crafting something. It doesn't have to be impressive or refined at the moment, but you can just put it down and take your time to refine it as we progress. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope by this I have not confused you, but I have been able to walk you through how I think how did we use amazing. All right, I've been able to walk you out through this. But first, before we take questions, were we following? Please let me know if you were following me up until this moment. Just type follow in the chat if you were following up to this moment before we take questions. And oh, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for gifting me your time. I don't take it for granted. And I hope I've been able to make some impact. So if there was something that stood out for you, you can also type in the chat and tell us what stood out for you for the section. If it made sense to you, please let me know as well. I like to take that feedback as well. And then I'll hand over to the moderators. So if there are questions, I'll stop presenting my slides so that we can take those questions if there are any. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Felix. I mean, we can't say thank you enough for this insightful, seminar. I mean, this is more than just a presentation. It is something that has brought reality right in front of our faces. And we are so appreciative of this opportunity to have shared this wealth of knowledge. I'm sure quite a number of people are craving to ask questions, and they're already, excited to know the next step they are going to take. I want to know if you are going to ask a question, can you just put up your hands? We have limited spaces, and please also make use of the chat boxes. If you want to ask a question, we'll also read from the chat box, but you can go ahead and put up your hands. I've seen one hand already. Please, I want us to do it on a first come, first serve basis. So, and please, if somebody else has taken the question you wanted to ask, so that our moderator would have enough, our speaker will have enough time to, respond to the questions, you might just lower down your hands, but just make use of the chat box as well. That's also an opportunity to ask questions. So let's unmute John Nwabuko, who has a question. John, if you can go ahead and ask your question.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Felix. Good morning to our moderators too. I really appreciate having this kind of engaging session. Like we don't normally have such kind of opportunities where we get to learn these things that we really need, to excel when it comes to having a business outside. Now, my question is more like within the period you have been able to discuss this, you've actually given out a lot within this period. Let me use the term that you have compressed a lot, but I still feel that given enough time, we may need some kind of more explanations to get to understand some of these things deeper. So I'm actually asking, beyond this session, whether there will be a kind of opportunity where we could at least on where these things can be broken down and probably more explanations are given concerning these things that you have explained. Once again, to really appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, moderator, do you want me to take the questions one at a time?
Yes, please go ahead with the response.
Okay, brilliant. All right, thank you so much for that very fantastic question. Yeah, I'm one of those people who believes in progressive learning, to be very honest, and that is one of the reasons why I actually took up the space of training. Yeah, so there is this is just a seminar, basically. So it might not be able to contain everything. We have classes that will sit in the entire day. We do practicals. I actually have sections where we sit the entire day. We do practicals and we deal with pitching, right? Pitch decks, we write them, get practical and all that. That's like a 5-hour thing. But at the same time, we do have a session, just like Engineer Peter did and mentioned earlier, where we do Google Hustle Academy. So Google Hustle Academy is a 5-day boot camp and it runs 25 hours a week. So what that means is you get on a Monday. If you're accepted, it's highly competitive, right? It runs across Africa, Nigeria, Kenya for Eastern Africa, then South Africa for Southern Africa, then Nigeria and Ghana for Western Africa. Now, so basically what we do is we run a 5-day boot camp where you come in on Monday and then for 5 hours, starting from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day, you're walked through different sections, including artificial intelligence, business setup, legal processes, financing, types of finance, artificial intelligence tools, business leadership, problem crafting, and even the pitching. Like it's a full day, full week section. Now, that is where you can actually have the entire breakdown of everything. I rushed this through because I was given 1 hour for the section and 30 minutes for the questions. So I was actually looking at my time. And when I was designing this particular deck, I designed it within the space and time I was given. So what I would do is, if you would like to have longer session, I will invite you to join the Google Hustle Academy. If you haven't, I'm going to share the link in the chat so you can register for Google Hustle Academy. Let me quickly do that. So yeah, so you can register for Google Hustle Academy. It's absolutely free, but very competitive. So you might actually register. It might take a while to get to you because there are thousands of applicants that are currently on. Engineer Peter can actually attest to that. But once you get in, you have all of this covered in that session. So you have a lengthier session that covers from the progression from your financial needs down to your leadership, and then the pitching and how you can pitch to each of these investors. So am I sharing to everybody who can see a message? I don't know. Okay, I hope I'm sharing to everybody. All right, so you can just click on the link and register to join the section. So I think that's what I can say for now. Unfortunately, our time here is less than 2 hours. I think in the next 1 hour, 30 minutes or thereabout, we should be able to close out on this. So that's why I try to compress all the information into one. I hope that answers your question, by the way.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the response. We'll also take one more question from Emmanuel Osho. Emmanuel, if you can hear me, you can kindly unmute and ask your question.
Great. I really enjoyed this session, and I think you've done a good job, a yeoman's job. I also want to further take this discourse to something that happened to me. You've talked about applying for and presenting yourself and your business or the opportunity very, very well to the investors, especially in a scenario where you have to pitch. But what comes to mind is, even how do we know the right people to pitch for or to pitch to? There was an opportunity I saw online for me to pitch one of my projects. And funny enough, everything I filled in the form, I saw it the next day from another person. So what are the ethical guidelines in the industry, based on your own experience, that people have to follow and ensure that their plans or their visions or their projects or their ideas are not hijacked because so often in this country, legal matters are taken, especially when the person you are dragging with is more buoyant, is financially buoyant than you, that your ideas will not be hijacked or overtaken by somebody you submitted such pitch to. Thank you.
That's a big question. And I'm very, very sure. I'm very, very sure that if I take a pool of everyone on this call right now who have personally had this experience, I'm sure I will have at least 10 people who have had this experience. And you're not alone, to be honest, Emmanuel. You're not alone. I had that experience. Now, will it surprise you that what you currently have as the electoral process, where you have the card readers and stuff like that, was actually an idea of someone inside amongst us here? Will it surprise you? Now, how did it happen? I'll put this to you, how it happened. So I contested an SUG election in my school then. So they use computers. So accreditation happens using computers and all that. We had a computer lab, so you go in there, you click on who you want to vote for. And because I wasn't in the good books of the school management, because the student wanted me, and I was very vocal that I'm going to deal with school management, as I was very vocal. So the school management didn't like it. And I was very, very vocal with my VC and everybody. My VC happened to be my friend. And so they found a way to remove my picture and my details from the system and claim it was a system glitch. So my opponent went to the election unopposed. A lot of things happened, by the way. And students revolted. I had to try to calm. In fact, by 3 a.m. the night before, they were using police to look for me. And my friends and I were in hiding. 3 a.m. I wrote my concession speech, and I begged everybody. They were like, let them arrest all of us. I begged everybody, and we finally took that, and we pasted it in the middle of the night. They were looking for us outside. We were inside the school, and police and everybody was looking for us. School management was using police to look for us outside, and we're inside the school. And so before 5 a.m., we have pasted around the critical places. I have made my concession speech that, well, I'll let everything go and all that. And then the next morning, everybody woke up to it. Students were disappointed, but I had to make that decision. It wasn't even because of the police that were looking for us. It was because the school was going to burn. Students wanted a different person. School management forced them to. In fact, they didn't vote for the person. When people went in there, they didn't vote. And at the end of the day, they declared him winner. Now, I took that anger and I wrote the process that we used, and I submitted it to I took it to the then INEC chairman, Professor Maurice Wu. Unfortunately, I wanted to hand it over to him directly, the entire process. Unfortunately, I didn't get to him that day. I went from the assistant secretary to deputy secretary to personalized secretary, like the entire chain. Before I could get to his office, they said he has closed and left. And they asked me to drop it there, and I did. Only for a few years down the line, I saw they have mutilated the thing, and then it came out as what it is. That's why I keep telling people, to solve Nigerian electoral process is very simple. A lot of people have written to INEC and all that. They have it. It's just that there is no political will to solve it. But away from that, now, nobody ever called me up until today. Nobody has ever called me to say, hey, that thing you submitted and all that. So if you're talking about stealing ideas, that is one. And there are many others, right? So what we do, even in Google Hustle Academy, when we teach this, we also tell you there are things. I think there's a section where we teach the pros and the cons. There are things you don't share, especially if they are proprietary documents or proprietary information. You have to find a way to protect them using trademarks and a few other things. And then not everybody that knocks that you go pitch into. Not everybody, especially when it comes to free money, the so-called free money, the grants. Now, this is where a lot of people, in fact, I pitched somewhere, to be very honest. I've actually pitched somewhere, just like you, and I saw they started implementing what I pitched in Niger State. Yes, a particular government in Niger State, they started implementing, and I'm very sure maybe the governor didn't know about it. I can give that to him. He didn't know about it, but somebody took that pitch, implemented it, and we're seeing it, and somebody else took the name and everything. Now, the argument was that I'm not from Niger State. That's what we got to know much later. One of the guys said, so sorry, when we tried to make case for you, they said you're not from Niger State and all that, but it has to go on. Now, so what am I saying? What you need to do is to, first and foremost, like you've already recognized that if you're pitching against somebody who is more powerful, so as a business person, you need to first and foremost look at yourself and then protect yourself first. That's why you need to register your business. There's an argument I used to tell people, this is a trick I want you to do, because actually you can go to court and you may win. Yeah, there are times you can go to court and you may win. If you have that pitch, if you have that idea, go to an email, right? Go to an email. If you have 2 emails, go to one of your emails, write everything about your business, the entire idea and everything, and then send it to your own second email, right? Send it to your own second email as if you're sending it to someone else. And then have all the details and everything there, send it to your second email and leave it there. When you want to send that pitch to someone else, copy yourself in another email. Copy yourself in that email. Now, the reason is because when you go to court, if issues like that happen and you go to court, that email thread might actually be an evidence, because the argument will be, oh, you can't be the only person who has that idea. Yes, which is true. You can't be the only person, because I've actually had an idea. There's a particular idea I had that I wanted to implement. I was stalling on it. 2 years later, I saw somebody implementing it, and I know I never discussed that idea with somebody else, and the person was implementing it verbatim. Yeah, so I can't blame anybody for that. So you may not be the only person who has that idea, but the argument is going to be, at what point did you have any evidence that you are the first person that conceived it? So if you can print that email that you email to yourself, and it shows a date earlier than the other person, you have an argument. And if possible, register the business before the person. Right? If possible, register the business before the person. If you need to do patent, patent it. If you need to trademark it. Now, these are evidences that you can use. And I've actually seen, okay, did you know why Air Nigeria did not fly? How many of us heard a story about Air Nigeria? Why it did not fly? So while they were busy in London launching Air Nigeria, somebody has already bought all the domain names of Air Nigeria and did what we call domain packing. So when they went back to the guy, he told them how much they're going to pay him. Nigerian government could not win him. Right? Because legally he owns it. It has happened to me. My business, my domain name was actually stolen some time ago. I was doing the business and somebody was crawling the site, and then they saw it, they bought it. What I did was, thankfully, I have an idea about domain packing and all that because I'm in the tech. So I never gave a hit until after 1 year. Calculated, I gave him 1 year, 6 months. Thankfully, I saw that it was a Nigerian company. If it was a foreign country, that is gone, because those guys will keep renewing until somebody buys it. So I saw it that it was a Nigerian company somewhere in Lagos. I did my whiz and I found out the person is in Lagos. So I looked up, and after about 1 year and 6 months thereabout, I just hit and I had my card ready. So the moment I hit, I saw it, I bought it, I paid for 2 years. The person may have seen it now and is like, so this person was waiting for me. So basically, you need to find a way to protect your own self first in order to be able to protect your business. Right? So those are what, unfortunately, they may not sound like the best of options, but at least those are the only thing we can do right now to actually protect your business going forward. All right, Emmanuel?
All right. Thank you so much. I mean, that was very, very helpful. I mean, even though I'm the moderator, I'm also taking notes. This is very helpful. Thank you very much. Let's take another question from Nenen Dukwe. Emmanuel Osho, I see your hand is still up. Before Nenen Dukwe, please, I just want to ask, is it a follow-up to this question, or you want to confirm that? Okay, your hand's already down.
It's just a follow-up. Thank you. And I really appreciate it. Touched the areas that I didn't even mention. That was good.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
let's
Ikechukwu, you are muted.
Yes, Nenen Dukwe, can we have you now? You are muted.
Thank you so much, sir, for the session. It's been quite insightful. So you had talked about the importance of personal financial investment in the eyes of the investors. I just have a few questions to ask. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs who don't have significant personal funds to invest in their project? because, you know, from what you mentioned, it's really important that's to see the level of commitment that the business initiator has. So what of someone who doesn't have any significant personal funds? That's one. Two, are there any alternative ways that the business initiator can demonstrate some sort of commitment or, you know, potential investors? These are the two questions.
Very
Thank
brilliant
you.
question. And I'm going to start the question by a bold statement I usually make. And I think I made it some time ago. I was surprised. I was speaking to the audience at Gateway International Church, and I made that statement, and they captured it. And I stand by it anytime, any day. And I'm going to say this to you. If you need 10 million naira, okay, look, if you need 1 million naira, do I need, okay, no. If you want 1 million naira, let me be very specific now. If you want 1 million naira to start your business and you are given 10 million, your business has a 93% chance of failing. Let me repeat it again. If you want 1 million to start your business and we graciously hand you 10 million, your business has 93% chance of failing. I can almost guarantee. I'm banking this on my life and the business that I have run. Now, the reason is because what we think we want to start a business is money. We think we want money to start a business. But in reality, what we need to start a business is not money. And so if you come to Google Hustle Academy, we usually have time to break this down. And when I teach that class on finance, I break it down a lot. Most of us think we want money, a certain amount of money. When you ask people, oh, what do you want to do? I want to start a business. Okay, let me play this out because I told him I'm going to use it for examples. So I'm going to say it, even though nobody is going to know him. So I had this mentee who came to me some time ago. He kept, following through. And finally, it's usually difficult. Mr. Engineer Peter can attest to this. Getting me, as I'm on this section now, my phone is buzzing nonstop. As I'm getting from here, I have another session. Tomorrow, I'll be out to Abuja, and then I'll be back by next tomorrow. I'm hitting back to Abuja again over the next 2 weeks. I'm coming back. I'm hitting back to Europe. And like, I'm on the move. So this guy kept buzzing. Then one day, finally, I had a brief, just a little. I said, okay, come over. We sat down and he started telling me. I said, you want the business? He said, yes. I said, what kind of business do you want to start? He told me printing business and all that. And we're gisting. Good time. Thankfully, I had a bit of time that day. We spent almost 4 hours. So I said, okay, you have my time today. This was like almost 3 years of chasing me, 3 years of chasing. And then we got talking. I said, okay, so tell me about the printing business. So he told me everything about his printing business, how it was going to cost about 4 point something million at the time. I said, okay, what are you going to do with 4 point something million? So he told me everything. And I said, you don't need a shishi to start a printing business. Well, I know, sir. I print computer, this, that. I say, you don't need a kobo to start. And I will not invest. I have the money I won't give you until you show me that. And so when we started talking, I said, see, I actually started a printing business. I said, I've done a printing business. And I still do printing business. I've done photography. And I can tell you all in fact, a few weeks ago, I did something with someone. So the person was telling me, a photographer, and he was telling me I was managing one event. And he was telling me how it was going to take 10 working days for the picture to do this, that. And I said, send me one of the pictures you took. He sent me the picture. The following day, I gave him the same thing he was telling me was going to take 10 working days. And he was shocked. The following morning, I gave it to him. And he was shocked. I said, see, the problem is that you people think that those of us who are here today never did these things at the bottom. Now, let me slide you back to why the business is what it is. I told the guy, I said, you are a very prominent member of your church. He said, yes. I said, good. They know you in your church. I said, yes. I said, all you need to do is to find a printer, somebody who does printing work. And then ask the person. And I told him, this is how I started my printing work. I asked the person. Thankfully, the person I started with was a pastor. So the man does printing works. And I said, sir, can you do printing? How much does it take to do wedding cards and stuff like that? So he told me, I wrote everything down, and I went back to my own church. And I told everybody in church, and I announced it. And I said, if you want to wedding, when they just announced, oh, these two people has to see church board and all that, I'm coming to you. I can do your wedding card for XY amount. Now, I'm not going to take the same thing those big names are going to take. I'll add a little thing on top of me to cover my transport. So I did that with the first people, and they saw when they went to other people, it was more expensive. They came to me, can you do it? I said yes. So I collected sample from the pastor that I was my contact. I didn't even know where they do the printing at the time. I didn't even know where they buy the thing. So I collected the sample and I said, these are samples. I showed him about 10 samples. He looked at it and said, oh, okay, we like this one. I gave them price, add my own little markup, took the thing back to the pastor, collected money from them, took it back to the pastor. The pastor did the entire work, bring it and gave it to me and handed it over to them. Now, the moment I did the first person, second person, third person, they started telling another, oh, where you do that your card? Now, Felix. Where do you write your card? Now, Felix. And then I kept doing that. I wasn't even doing the design. The pastor was doing everything. I was just the middle person, did that until I bought a laptop. Now, I used to pay for the design because the pastor pays somebody to do the design. The design then used to be 1,000 naira. So I started doing the design myself. I learned the design. I started doing it myself when I bought a laptop. And I started doing design. The 1,000 comes to me. Until at some point, the pastor was like, come, you don't try. Come, I show you where they do the printing. And he took me by himself to where they do the printing. So before you know it, I began to do printing myself. I could do the design. I called the people, send it to them and all that. And that is how I became a printer. I didn't spend a dime of my money starting, right? If I needed to now start a printing press, I can now take that conversation to an investor and said, hey, I have printed for 100 people. These are my work. These are this. What I need is a printing press. I want to buy the machine. I want to buy more computers. I want to hire more designers and this. At that point, any investor will listen to me and put in the money. You don't need money to start a business. You need strategies to start a business, but you definitely need money to grow a business. So where you need the money is to grow the business. Now, when you talk to investor and you're able to tell the investor, oh, when they ask you, so how much of your own money have you invested? They say, oh, I started like this, that. I invested my time. I was able to learn how to do graphics and this. I'm supposed to pay myself 1,000 naira, but I'm not paying it because I'm putting back that money into this. They are understanding that you've made your own personal investment. How much does it take to do the design? 1,000 naira. I've done 100 design. That's 100,000 naira. I use it to buy laptops. So I've invested 100,000 naira into the business. I did design for five people. I have done 5,000 naira. I use the money, add it to XY money a month, and I've registered the business as the business name. Now, those are your own personal startup fund. Those are your bootstrapping strategy. When you talk to them about that, you don't necessarily need to have all the money. Once they listen to you that you're talking about how you bootstrap your business, they are going to invest into you. So it's not necessarily that you sat down, wrote your business plan, and you look at it, it's going to cost you 50 million, and you say, oh, where will I get 50 million from? They're telling me to start it. I don't need money to start. No, it is not the 50 million we're telling you. In fact, as a matter of fact, if you're giving the 50 million, why I usually make the bold statement that if you're giving more than even the money you needed, you're going to fail, is because the moment they give you the 50 million, do you know what is going to happen? Let's be very honest and very fair. And I'm going to tell you personal experience. Remember, I told you that I started a business, some businesses that fail. This is what you're going to do. The moment you receive, let's say you need 50 million to start your business. The moment you receive the 50 million, you go already on your own, discover that you have suffered in this life. Nigeria have shown you shege. So the first thing you're going to do is that you're going to get a CEO table and CEO chair first. Why you've not even bought raw materials and all those things. You will first get, as a matter of fact, CEO need motor now. You need to use motor to go and convince your business, because some people believe that if you drive to go and compete for the contract, they will take you more serious than somebody who trek. Yeah, so you would convince yourself that there's enough money to buy a car, to drive there so that they will take you serious. And then you will decide to design, put signboard and everything, and make your place so good that anybody that walks in, now that illusion will tell you that anybody that walks in will start seeing you big. That is not true. I have a friend who was making a turnover. I started a business with him. He was making a turnover of 20, 30 million every month. He begged me for about how much? 20,000 naira a few days ago. I mean, like, he's the luckiest human being I've seen on earth. His running cost is less than 10%. You hardly have a business that run 20, 30 million and your running cost is less than 5%. Less than 5%. He had a business that his running cost was less than 5% of what he was making. And then he wasted it. Why? He first removed the ceiling of his system, put POP, removed the tiles that was there, put a new tiles, a marble, came by CEO, bought AC, put this. He was seated with borrowed money. because he knew there was going. When the client had problem, he could not pay back this money. The business crashed. So this is what happens. Most of us do that, and I'll tell you, I did it. So starting up one of my businesses, I used to hear everybody, all my senior friends then, they used to feel busy. And then I thought that busy is you know, I was less busy. I'm always in Port Harcourt, just doing my thing. I was less busy. So these guys, every now and then you call them, oh, I'm in Lagos, Felix, I'll call you tomorrow when I come back. You know, the same person comes back tomorrow, you call, I'm in China, I'm in here. So I was like, is going to Lagos, and I'm the only one in Port Harcourt, which means I'm not progressing. So I had some money, and then I had a friend who was in London, and he recommended a team, some white guys who were coming from London to meet me. So these guys called me and asked me, where should we meet? Ordinarily, I'm in Port Harcourt. If I didn't have money to travel, I would have told them in Port Harcourt, there's an international airport in Port Harcourt. So they should have flown to Port Harcourt to meet with me. No, I told them I would meet them in Lagos. So they flew to Lagos, waited in Sheraton, and I flew from Port Harcourt to Lagos and met them in Sheraton. In fact, I lodged in Sheraton with my money. And we stayed in Sheraton. They were in Sheraton. We discussed, finished. They ate. We ate. That was the first time I ate a gizzard for an amount of money that made me sweat under air condition. Then we finished and went in and sat down in my room. In fact, my friend was looking at me. He refused to sleep on the bed. I was like, are you mad? How will you pay this kind of amount of money just for one night? And then I was like, calm down. Calm down. I'm a businessman and all that. That business crashed. I flew back, wasted the entire money, and didn't use anything. So if you have more money, the chances of failing is higher. In fact, the less money you have to start a business, the more resourceful you become, and the more chances those resourcefulness will actually make your business succeed. So in answering your question, what you need to do first is to bootstrap. What are the first things? If you need to do patenting, how much is patenting? If you need to borrow from your family and friends, if you join Google Hustle Academy, we'll walk you through some types of funding that you can get. If you need to get from family and friends to do your patents, to protect your business before you pitch, you do that. If you need to register your business, you do that. You register your business. Not to sound like a motivational speaker. The current business I currently do, before we transitioned and pivoted to where we are, I actually started it with borrowed money. One of my senior friends who I was, following, I told him I want to learn, understudy him and all that. I was like, no, Felix, you can't do this work. Go and start something. I said, sir, there's a contract, but they said I must register the business. I said, how much? I said 10,000. He gave me 20,000 naira. That's how we started that business. Today it's turning over 7 figures and more. But it started with just that simple 20,000 naira. Now, I don't want to sound like a motivational speaker that will tell you that, oh, I use one feather to start my poultry. No, that's not what I want to achieve here. But the truth is, you can actually bootstrap and somebody will meet you halfway. That's what I would say about that. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I believe you should answer the question. That was very detailed, and you've given it the most elaborate response that anyone would understand. Thank you so much again. And unfortunately, I see Emmanuel Osho still has a question, but because of time, honestly speaking, if we stay on this call, the call will not end. We'll continue to ask more questions. In fact, your wealth of knowledge is something that we'll just want to sit down with and continue to learn from you. But because of time, unfortunately, Emmanuel, I'm sorry, we may not be able to accommodate any other question. What we might do, maybe we'll speak with our Vice President, Engineer Peter Ogunbowale, to see how he can be able to liaise with you, probably to pick down the questions that are unanswered on this session, then find a way to get back to you and maybe get a response. But we really want to appreciate you for your time and so far how you've been able to share your knowledge without any reservation. We really appreciate that. I'll hand over to our Vice President now to pick up from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for having me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Felix Ogbuji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This session is really insightful and transformative. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are going to share our testimonies with you, and you'll be proud of us, what we are doing after now. Thank you. So at this point, I would like to invite the Vice President, Engineer Peter Ogunbowale, to present the certificate of appreciation to our esteemed facilitator. Thank you, IT team. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Engineer Peter, you can go.
Thank you so much, Timothy. And thank you so much, Mr. Felix Ogbuji. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. May God honor you. On behalf of the MBA Student Association, University of Lagos, it is my pleasure to present this certificate of appreciation to Felix Ogbuji. Mr. Felix, we sincerely appreciate your generosity in sharing your time, your expertise, and your insight with us today. Your contribution has made a lasting impact, and we are grateful for your support of this seminar series. Please accept this certificate of appreciation as a token of our gratitude. We will also send you a copy after this section. Once again, thank you for honoring us and for investing in the success of our MBA community. Thank you so much, Mr. Felix. Thank you. Any word from you, sir? Any last word from you?
I don't know how to feel right now, but thank you so much. I mean, every time I have to take a session, I come with an open mind myself. I tell people that I'm a lifelong learner. So I don't just come to teach or to share my thoughts with people. I also want to be able to connect and also to learn. So thank you so much. So this is more than enough to me. I've learned from a lot of you as well as we keep sharing. We're connected with you. Absolutely. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. So what I would do, Mr. Peter and I will continue to be in conversation. So if there are anything I think or we are doing that I think most of you will benefit, I would definitely share with him to reach out to you. Then most importantly, for those of us who haven't joined the Google Hustle Academy, I'm inviting you to do so. The links is in the chat. Again, let me reshare it in the chat. Please do everything you can to jump on it. It's free. It's absolutely free. It's bankrolled by Google. So you know what Google banks, you know what it means. So feel free to jump on it, and we'll see you there as we continue. Other than this, anytime, any day, my doors are open. I believe I am an Oliver Twist myself. So if people bring the Oliver Twist thing to me too, I'm open to it. So anytime, any day, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be more than glad to come share my thoughts. Thank you so much. Anything, I mean, if you need to reach out to me, my domain, you know that already. It's business, artificial intelligence, a bit of cybersecurity, now digitalization certification. So anything within that space is fine with me. Do have a fantastic day. And I totally, from the bottom of my heart and my entire team, I appreciate the certificate. Thank you. And do have a fantastic weekend ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Felix. We truly, really appreciate all the sacrifices you made. Thank you so much for that we called you and you answered us. Thank you so much. If I have another opportunity, I will kindly use it, to bring you in again. Thank you so much for this wonderful section. And the moderators, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Engineer Peter Ogbuji. Thank you, our esteemed facilitator, once again. Thank you, everyone, for joining this call. It's my great belief that we are all learning and we are all being impacted. Thank you. So give me a few seconds. I want to share my slide. It is important that we do this on this call. If you can see my slide, please confirm you can see my slide.
Yes, your slide is visible. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. We want to appreciate all our sponsors. We want to appreciate Jobberman. We want to appreciate Alpha The Rock. We want to appreciate Reforge Studios. We want to appreciate IK Motion for everything they have done to make sure that this program is holding and to contribute to this program. Jobberman is owned by our own esteemed Buzo, our year one student in Stream 3. Buzo has donated more than 100,000 Naira in support of this seminar series. And what it does in Jobber, Niger, is to connect job seekers with career opportunities. In Jobber, Niger as well, they offer UNILAG admission support and provision of past questions. They also sell electronic and gadgets. So let's patronize our very own Buzo, who is the founder of Jobber, Niger. Don't forget, it's the community, and let us be a supporter of this community. Also, we want to appreciate Alpha The Rock Nigeria Limited, owned by our very own Okewa Dedeji, our own in year 2, Stream 2, yeah, specifically Stream 2. It provides branding support, it provides printing, and he was very instrumental in the printing of the banner for this very event. is into souvenirs, is into branded gifting, printing, and custom branding. His number is prominently displayed here. We can reach out to Alpha The Rock and patronize him and let him know that we appreciate his sponsorship of this program. Also, we have Reforge Studios, owned by our own Adeyan Oluwatobi Samuel in year 2, specifically stream 3. He has produced the promo video we all appreciate for this MBA seminar series. We can see how beautiful and engaging the video is. He's also into, Reforge Studio is also into film and podcast production. They are into brand storytelling and media consulting. So let us reach out to them to help brand our own story as well. Reforge Studios, we are saying thank you to you. Also to our own Ikechukwu Emmanuel Ogene, IK Motion. IK Motion, thank you for everything you have done, and thank you for what you are doing. Thank you for giving back and empowering this MBA community. Thank you so much. So to all our sponsors, thank you. And to everyone who has supported us in one way or the other, in encouragement, in finances, in publicity, in engagement, even inviting fellows to join us on this call. Thank you so much for this support. Without you, this seminar series wouldn't have been what we are celebrating today. Thank you for your support. Also, if you want to support us financially, this is our account number, UNILAG MBA Student Association. We use money points. And please, when you are rendering your support, please target MBA seminar so we can account properly for the money. Once again, thank you to all our sponsors. Thank you so much. At this point, I would like to hand over to the moderator, the first moderator, to continue. Thank you, Ike.
Thank you so much, Timothy. That was very insightful. Now, tomorrow is the big day, right? Tomorrow is another time. I mean, if you look at what we've been doing for the last 1 week, we started on Saturday where we had Professor Shegun, helped us, Professor Lufemi rather, helped us with projects and how to write a perfect project. Today again, we have talked about how to sell your idea in such a way that you will stand out among the crowd. And Mr. Felix has helped us and given us insight. But guess what? Tomorrow is another day. By 4 p.m. tomorrow, we are meeting here again, same link. And we are talking about how to position yourself for global career opportunity. Trust me, one of the reasons why an MBA student is different from another MBA student is because of how you're able to position yourself. I'm sure most of us here, our biggest ambition is not to be a local player. Most of us want to play in the big industries. And for that purpose, tomorrow, the MBA Association that has organized this program is bringing in facilitators that would give us insight, will show us the best way that we can present ourselves and sell ourselves out there to big players in the industries. Depending on whatever industry you are looking at, I'm very sure tomorrow you will find something that would help you to position yourself the right way. And to do justice to that, we'll be having Hilary Issa. Hilary Issa's profile reads so much and it speaks so much, speaks volume. This gentleman has mentored no fewer than 4,000 people and shown them the best way that they can sell themselves out. Impressive CVs, things that you would not even imagine, that some of the things that you've missed out that are important for you to pitch yourself and sell yourself to global audiences. And we're also having Nelson Dominic. He's also an HR consultant and a professional who will be joining us tomorrow by 4 p.m. to give us tips and also help us on how to position ourselves for global careers. And I'm trusting that after tomorrow, somebody here, you already start seeing yourself working with the big players in the big industries. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening to this session. This is me hanging the boots, saying thank you on behalf of myself and other moderators who have started today. Peter, thank you so much. And also thank you to Chinelo, who did the introduction, but she had to leave. Then thank you to Timothy also, who's the second moderator, and to my humble self. And I'm going to hand over to Shegun, who is the DOS for MBA, to help us with the closing remark. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I guess the DOS is not on the call. What an inspiring section we've just had. On behalf of the MBA Student Association, I would like to sincerely appreciate our guest speaker, Mr. Felix Ogbuji, once again, for your outstanding presentation on Pitch Perfect today, which is selling your business idea. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful section. Your insight and practical tips have truly us the tools to communicate our ideas confidently and effectively. To all our moderators, the technical team, the planning team, and sponsors, thank you for your dedication and for making this event a seamless and impactful experience. Finally, to every participant who joined us today, thank you for showing up and investing in your growth. I understand that exam is currently at the door, and that is why we have a drop in the number. But thank you so much for the few that were able to join the call today. God bless you. We sincerely appreciate you. And please don't remember to join us tomorrow, 4 p.m. for positioning yourself for global career opportunities with Hilary and Nelson Dominic. I can tell you it's going to be an impactful and a wonderful section. Thank you all once again, and please do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
How do you really write? Yes, yeah. Open words. And in the world, what makes send your MBA for Nelson Dominic, step into radio careers. Felix Ogbuji, send your ideas like I want to be build your brand. People wait for the platform to show you how. And it's all happening online. No sign-ups, no stress, just fun. Join us to engage with experts in real time because the value is in the room, not in the replay. Face level. This is what school didn't teach us. Success demand. Don't learn to catch them play their own smile. Recordings will be shared. You either show or miss us. Ask questions. Connect. Learn what school doesn't teach. This is your chance to grow beyond the classroom. Be in the room or left behind.
I, Engineer Felix Ogbuji, on the board of business. I currently serve as the Vice President in time of the I can personally serve this seminar. This seminar that you guys next, and I'm personally inviting you to join us live. We want to hear about this seminar. Please be part of this. I'll be there. I hope to see you there. Thank you.
You've got the MBA, but are you truly ready for what comes next? Global career, investor ready pitch. This seminar is intentional. It's essential. Business school teaches theory, but no one shows you how to stand out. How do you sell yourself globally? How do you really write an A+ MBA product that speaks for you? How do you pitch an idea that turns heads and open wallets? And in a world full of graduates, what makes you unforgettable? We bring you what the classroom never could. Professor Felix Ogbuji, master your MBA project like pro. Nelson Dominic, step into global career spaces with confidence. Felix Ogbuji, sell your ideas like an entrepreneur. Hilary Isa, build your brand, own your path. Learn from people who've worked hard and want to show you how. And it's all happening online. No sign-ups, no stress, just fun. Join us live, ask questions, engage with experts in real time, because the value is in the room, not in the replay. This isn't another class. It's not on YouTube, and no recordings will be shared. You're either in the room or you are out of the conversation. Show up, learn up, level up. This is what school didn't teach us. Success did. Don't plan to catch them play their own school. Recordings will be shared. You either show or miss us. Ask questions, connect, learn what school doesn't teach. This is your chance to grow beyond the classroom. Be in the room or left behind.
I, Engineer Felix Ogbuji, on the board of business.
I'm with you, sir. Yeah,
I can personally see this seminar.
Okay, sir. All right, sir.
I'm personally inviting you to join us live.